Hi, I'm Kevin McPartland, Head of Market Structure and Technology Research at Coalition Greenwich. I'm here today at Symphony's office in New York with Symphony COO Mike Lynch. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks for having me here.
Of course, welcome to the New York office.
Yeah, so excited to talk about AI and what Symphony is doing, but why don't we start there? I think a lot of people still think Symphony and they just think chat. You've made acquisitions, you've built a lot of tech in the last decade. Can you tell us where we are? Let's level set and then we'll dive in from there.
Sure. So last year, Symphony celebrated its 10th anniversary. We're on into our 11th year. And when Symphony was founded in 2014, it was, the flagship product was a chat product, very much focused on secure end-to-end encrypted communication, very much focused on enabling inter-firm communication between banks and asset managers, et cetera. And that still is very much a core of our capability and a core of our strategy. I joined a little over 4 years ago, also with a number of our senior leaders. And since then, we've added to that capability with our acquisition of Cloud9, which is a cloud-native, software-first, modern approach to trader voice, really focused on modernizing the legacy turrets that you see on a trading desk and bringing a much more future-looking approach to trader voice. And we'll talk a little bit about that because there's obviously AI when you think about that. Our directory component is all about that connectivity across both messaging and voice and being able to create a unified connectivity layer across the market. And then our analytics platform is all about driving workflow and AI and automation across those products. And a really important new piece of our strategy going forward.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to understand. So over the years, I've heard a lot from you guys about bots, which makes sense. You're talking to chat. You can say, give me a stock price, for instance, and it tells you. Tell us a little bit about what that is, and then how does that transform into agents or into copilots?
Sure. So since the beginning, Symphony's kind of ethos has been an open API, and everything Symphony has been about not just the communication, but enabling our customers to build automation and bots on top of that platform. So we have customers who have built bots to develop post-trade workflows. Internal workflows, ordering coffee from the coffee machine in the lobby. I'm not kidding. So it runs the gamut of those bots, and it's always been what we wanted it to enable. And we have literally thousands of bots on the system sending millions of messages a day, both intra-firm and inter-firm. And we have human to bot. We also have a number of bot to bot workflows today where we have a bot pushing pricing information and then actually being consumed by a bot on the other side, driving downstream sort of price discovery on both sides.
So bots sounds like talking to ChatGPT, but it's not.
It's the start of it. And I think, that might be where we can talk a little about defining some of these terms because, every time there's a market evolution, people start throwing around terms. So, sometimes just sitting around saying, what are the definitions? So to me, and, the way we define bots here at Symphony, and this is, I think, I don't think I'm inventing the wheel here, is, a bot is a automated component of a chat that can do a specific task. And it's really good at repetitive, low complexity tasks, pushing information, answering frequently asked questions, driving, workflow automation. And that's incredibly powerful. And for a world that, there's still too much copy and paste and still too much manual workflow across post-trade and pre-trade and at trade, being able to deliver a bot into that workflow is still incredibly important. So that's what a bot is. The other kind of component of AI that's become really kind of visible in the market today are copilots, right? Whether that's a Microsoft copilot that you're engaging with in Teams, whether that's ChatGPT, whether that's Gemini, whether that's Claude, and you're going in and saying, hey, I have a question. And that's the key here is that is being delivered off of direct human prompting. I have a question or I need to create this, and the copilot is helping complete that task. If the human isn't asking it or isn't doing something, the copilot's waiting. They're not taking autonomous, proactive action.
Okay.
An agent takes the best of both of those worlds, where it has a level of autonomy and ability to deliver towards a goal versus a task. So you can create an agent, you can give it the data and the tools it needs to say, your goal is to resolve trades. And if you give it the proper tools and data to be able to do that, it can actually do that sort of as a companion to a human, or in some cases, as an addition to and sitting next to a human while a human's doing another task, that agent can actually deliver towards that autonomous goal.
So it could, in theory, say, hey, I just saw the Fed cut rates, and so you should make this trade and you should call this client.
It could go further. In theory, it could say, the agent says, I saw the Fed cut rates. I did that.
That's it, which is amazing. And
again,
there's true
is the world ready for that? And that's where we can talk about where the world is today versus where it may go. But in principle, an agent can look at all the full data set that a human can and more, and start to make kind of these kinds of risk or reward decisions.
So I would love to understand what's happening now. I could see some people being a little nervous to have something do things without a check. I could see risk and compliance teams getting nervous about something doing things without a check. So what is happening today, like in capital markets, using this type of technology?
So I think, as I said, thousands of bots, certainly on our platform. And, I feel pretty confident saying we are the market leader in bot workflow across this market. And you can see a lot of that happening today. And that's a lot of those bots are perfectly good at what they're doing. I'm not saying a world where every bot's going to become an agent. There are bots that solve a task, do a purpose, and it's great. Copilot, we're sort of in the copilot phase of the world where users are using, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever their preferred sort of AI tool internally is to help them answer questions, create documents, et cetera. The investor analyst sort of assistant, and I think even you've talked about how you use it, when we've been chatting. And I think the market is there, and it's very much internal. I think it's how do I augment my capabilities, move faster for some of these low-value tasks to deliver a human-led capability. We're seeing some firms starting to deliver truly agentic workflows internally, but it's still pretty young, and especially within our customers ourselves, where we're starting to see more agentic workflows sort of coming about. It's actually with some of our partners like us, where we're not regulated entities. We don't have the same sort of we're not the same scale. We can start to see some of this kind of start to come into fruition as capabilities delivered to customers in our market.
Right, you can experiment with just general lower risk or no risk of
compliance
issues.
And again, a lot of this stuff isn't in production yet. Some of it is, and but it's really about kind of seeing that. And I think the key with all of this is two keys. I'll say is one, we're not doing the first use case I said of the Fed cut rates and I'm making a trade. We're looking at lower risk workflows that are not necessarily specifically sort of taking risk for the firm. And we're also looking at guardrails and what are the controls that customers can put around those agents so that you can be autonomous, but the agent has guardrails around that autonomy so they can't go off. An example that I talk to our customers about is you can have an investment banker at a large bank might want to create an agent. If that agent has private information, material non-public information, you need to enforce an info barrier for that agent so that it can't all of a sudden be pushing information into a public side user or public side database. So having to think about all those controls that you have around, especially at a financial institution.
Well, that's a good point, right? So that's why I think, you tell me, that's why using this sort of through a Symphony is going to be more appealing to a bank than typing into ChatGPT directly, because you feel like you have control over the data.
And that's what's interesting and unique about Symphony is we grew up in working with the most complicated financial institutions. We have great partnerships with our bank customers. And what that means is since day one, we've had to build out capabilities like disclaimer management, information barriers, data loss controls, malware controls, so that it's only logical that we're also building prompt injection controls and all the other additional features and capabilities around those controls that become AI specific. But even our non-AI specific controls are 100% applicable to those same workflows that you need. You still need to enforce private public information barriers. You still need to make sure that the agent isn't shipping a private internal only PowerPoint to an external party, right? So those same controls exist or are required.
And so when you're talking to a bot, you're basically in a chat window. I can picture that. So if you have an agent running, is there like a dashboard and it sort of updates you on what's happening?
Yeah, so the agent can be, and then that's where the world of agents is really interesting, because you could have and we see some of our customers working on this now, where you have an agent that is engaged in the conversation with the human. But that agent actually, there are also multiple other agents behind the scenes. This is where you get the concept of kind of agentic AI, where you have different agents who are responsible for different components of it, And then you have that orchestrator agent who's actually making sure all those pieces of the puzzle happen in the right order and the right time to deliver on that sort of that goal that I said at the beginning.
So where do you see this going? Because I think today, like creating an agent, there's still really like you need a tech background to really make that work. Do you see this getting to the point where like a front office user could tell it what to do and set that up on their own?
For sure. I think we are getting there. And I think, as long as those guardrails are in place, you start to see really interesting agentic workflows. So one of the really exciting things that we're working on internally right now is what we're calling the Symphony Agent Studio, where, with the right permissions, a user could go in, free text prompt an agent to say, I want to create an agent that has this goal and has this, these can do these tasks. It uses this underlying model. So that can be a model that, like a Gemini or a firm's internal kind of bring your own AI model. These are the data sets that I want it to look to create those. And these are some of the other tools that it has. And I can create it. No code required. And that's where you start to see really interesting, where you can start to see sort of users and desk heads kind of really sort of driving these flows in a much more accelerated fashion, assuming all those data controls, all those information barriers, all those controls are in place where users can feel safe to experiment.
What I love about this is a lot of new technology, and we've both been in this business a long time. You say like, okay, that's cool. We'll see maybe someday. Like this is real now, and that's what really amazes me.
Yeah, I think the technology, and I think where we've been in this financial market it's not usually the first to adopt, right? There's a percolation period that happens in other markets. There's a lot of experimentation. There's a lot of compliance and super appropriate compliance and security reviews in terms of what is the appropriate approach. And it's exciting for us because it feels like we're starting to move towards that adoption phase. And I think 2026, 2027, you'll start to see even more of this come and kind of complementing the bots and copilots that are out there today.
And it does. I think the other thing that makes it stand out is that it's so accessible in everybody's everyday life that you can very quickly think about ways you could put this to work in your work life. And so providing safe tools within big enterprises to do that is really a big part of the next step.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's key. And I think where you're seeing firms really think about this is looking and working with their users and saying, okay, where do we have low value work that we're doing that is wasting our time, that is distracting from other capabilities, and what is that low risk, low effort, high return. Let's start there and let's start to experiment. Let's not worry about the high risk, low return work.
So the other obvious application seems to be processing voice data, right? That's been notoriously hard. I feel like my whole career, people have been talking about taking in a phone call and having the PC do something with that information. Obviously, now you have the voice business on top of the chat business. So what are some agentic or copilot use cases that could come from voice? Yeah,
so we're doing a couple really interesting things on the Cloud9 front. So we have our Trader Voice Analytics product, which is not just transcribing the trader voice conversations that happen on Cloud9, but starting to extract, and categorize conversations by this was a trade, this was not a trade, this was a missed inquiry, and starting to give that insight downstream into the compliance officer, the head of desk, et cetera. What we think is really interesting is that then becomes an input into a firm's agentic strategy. Okay, so now if I have my trade data, I have my CRM data, I have my market data, I have my voice data, how can I start to use that as one of the tools that I'm training my agents on to deliver? Hey, we keep, how am I fine-tuning my, my pricing model for this product when I see that I'm constantly missing trades on, voice trades on this product based on now that I can actually understand this voice data. So I think that's really interesting. We're working on a couple of other things around simple agentic flows actually in the way our Trader Voice product is provisioned, and just some of the internal automation for our firms and the admins at our firms. So that's super interesting. And then one of the things that we're playing with is, today you think of, people think of voice agents, they think of text agents, a world where I can, be in Cloud9 and, call an agent on Cloud9 and say, hey, I have this problem, help me fix it. So we start to see Cloud9 becoming kind of front door to a world of financial markets voice agents.
True virtual assistant.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can, I mean, it feels like you're like 5 steps deeper than you get the Zoom summaries when you have a meeting.
Yeah.
This is like the financial services safe. Dive five
exactly, and
right?
It's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's been it's been really exciting for the team to really dig into some of these incredibly complicated languages, and we've had some great customers partnering with us and permissioning us to access some of their data and working with us even on training some of these models. But we're excited where this is going to go in terms of unlocking what has been, in my view, one of the kind of remaining the last few kind of black boxes in financial markets of having a data set that's not usable in other workflows.
I mean, I swear it's been my whole career. People have been talking about like a trade happening over the phone and getting automatically captured and the ticket generated. It seems like maybe we're finally almost there.
We're getting there, I think, is where that's our goal. Yeah, for sure.
So what do you see, let's say 2 years from now? Where does this go? What should we think about for the future?
So I think, if we look out, and I'll take where are we now in terms of where we're going? So as I mentioned, we've got a couple of our partners that are starting to deliver agents on our platform into the market. So we have a great partner named Canva, who's got a data analyst agent that's looking at various data sets and can help users in Symphony do financial analysis and company analysis directly in Symphony. Cool. We have TradeFeeder, which has been a great partner for us with us for many years. Their team has delivered an agent that enables users to query sort of FX post-trade data and TCA analysis, and it's their data, but they're able to query it and also get the agent to kind of engage with them directly in Symphony, helping a user get to that. We're also going to one of the age-old problems of, I know the data's there, but I don't know how to get to it. And I can then find it here and put it right in the context of that chat window that I have up every day. So those are the use cases that we see today. Where we get to is truly a world where you have a trade exception agent working with your operations team, helping them hit that T1 requirement and increasing their STP rate or speeding up the recovery when there is an exception by looking at all the different data sets that could be what drove that wrong and actually resolving that, or prompting the human that, okay, this is what we saw was wrong with that trade. This is who you have to talk to get it resolved. So we can start to see those. And then I think we do start to see into kind of front office workflows. Again, you're still going to say, I'm of the view I never say never, but we're a ways away from agents kind of in sort of financial market participation. But algorithmic trading is very much the standard today. You start to see how agents can kind of augment and drive that flow over time as well.
Yeah, letting the agent sort of take risk.
Yes.
But yes, never say never. We've seen a lot of other amazing things happen. So
it
seems like we'll get there someday.
Yeah.
But really, really incredible, fascinating stuff. Thanks so much for taking us all through it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Great. Thanks for having me, Mike.